What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the second episode of the Rivals podcast. I am Caleb, and
I'm Anthony, and we are
the Rivals. So, today's episode, I think we need to talk about the Premier League, because there were three really big games in terms of the title race. I think we need to talk a little international, because we got some friendlies coming up. And then we got to talk MLS for the bids that just happened this week. Because so many stories to talk about.
So many stories. They're going to be pretty intense to talk about, and I'm excited to talk about them.
I'm going to start Premier. I think we need to start with the big game. Because there were three big games, but I think the Chelsea-Liverpool was the big one because it top four rivals. And really, both teams did
a great game.
Great game.
They both came out to play. They both came out to win. And I actually had a talk before. I was discussing with somebody, and to me, it's crazy to me that it ended up in a tie. Because really, Chelsea-Liverpool, right now, both the forms we're in, it's win or lose, right? That's how I feel. I feel right now it was unbelievable to me that it did end up in a tie. Now, should have ended up in a tie. Diego Costa could have done something about that, but...
Well, I think if you're talking form, I didn't give Liverpool a chance. I thought you guys were going to run them over because they had one of the worst months they've had in a long time. They lost every single game. I think they won one game the entire month.
Right. I think they had losses against Swansea.
Swansea.
They lost in the FA Cup
against, I think it was Hull.
They're
just really bad month.
But what was the win that month, though?
What was the win?
I think it was the Man City 1-0, wasn't it? They got the early goal.
I think you're right.
New York.
Yeah.
And held on to a 1-0 lead at Man City against Man City. So they are what they are. Beautiful soccer. They're going to attack. They're going to press. At the end of the day, can they keep a lead? Can they avoid not, conceding?
Right. That's why, I still think, because the City game, I didn't even remember, because I think that was early in the month.
Yeah, I think it was one of the first games.
Yeah, but since then they've been, granted they've had injuries, so, that's part of it, but just basing it off what they have done recently, I fully expected, even though it was at Anfield, I fully expected you guys to come in and take care of business. And I think for you guys to win would have been good for you, but for Liverpool it would have been devastating. Like they would have been pretty much gone from the title contention. Had they won, they would have definitely kept themselves in the race, and they would have really helped everyone else. Because let's talk about these games one by one.
Well, let's be honest. Every team in the Premier League was rooting for Liverpool that day.
Every team.
Everybody. It's the points the way they are. Everybody needed Chelsea to lose, not pick up any points, and everybody have a chance.
Right.
But a lot of those teams, even though they needed Liverpool to win and they wanted it to, didn't do their jobs.
They didn't do it. Right. So I think, just in terms of obviously they both got 1 point, so it doesn't change anything between Chelsea and Liverpool. But like you said, if we're just taking that game by itself without considering the rest of the league, Liverpool just kept it at parity. Like nothing changed. Had Arsenal, had Tottenham done anything, we'd be talking completely different.
I think you're absolutely right. I think we'd be saying, how did Chelsea not pick up those points? How are they going to let the teams back in? But they didn't. These other teams, Arsenal, who did they play?
Watford.
Watford's not a terrible team,
No.
and it is a Premier League, supposedly any team can win. It's not football where it's any given Sunday, but, competitive. And then should I bring up the Tots?
We'll talk about it.
We could talk about Tots?
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
And who could you remind our audience who they played again?
They played the team that's holding up the table.
And that's Sunderland?
That was Sunderland.
And they are in what place?
Well, now they're in 19th,
okay.
Thanks to that 1 point that they got. But they were holding up the table.
So this was a must-win for Tottenham.
I think it was, with the exception that Chelsea didn't win. I think if Chelsea had won this game, it would be over. like the season would be over. And it's 9 points. So here's what has to happen. Tottenham have to win 3 games. We're in second right now. We have to win 3 games. We're tied with Arsenal in points, but we have better goal differential. So between the two of us, we have to win 3 games. You guys have to lose 3 games. There aren't that many games left in the season. Do I think we're going to win 3 games? Obviously, both us and Arsenal are going to win another 3 games. Do I think you guys are going to lose another 3? I don't know. I could see you maybe next week dropping points against Arsenal.
Really bad form. We have lost 1 game to Tots. He loves it when I say Tots, by the way.
No, you lost more than 1.
In this stretch.
Oh, in the stretch.
In the stretch that we've had where we lost once to Tots, we have now this tie, but before that it was win, win, win,
and that's
win.
That's what put you over the top.
Right, and I think that's why this was such a big weekend to where you needed to pick up those points. Listen, you want to win the Premier League.
Right.
You got to beat Sunderland.
Right. Obviously.
I mean, but it's just that simple.
Right.
We can lose to Tots. We can tie Liverpool. We beat everybody else. We're the champions. That's how it works.
Right.
So, I mean, you got to pick up points, and I think it was big points dropped on your guys' part.
Right. I absolutely agree. But I think it's interesting that this season, the top 5 teams have really been even in terms of displays against each other. Aside from that Liverpool-Arsenal game, which was the first game of the season, where Liverpool, I think, won, 4-0? And the Arsenal game against you guys before you guys changed formations.
Right. I mean, at that point when Arsenal won, I think they beat us, was it 3-1 or 3-0? Just 3-0?
Yeah.
At that point, we had talked, and I had said I thought Arsenal was the best team in the league, and I thought they had the best chance to win the Premier League.
Right. Then you guys changed formations. Conte changed the...
Thank you for that 3-0 loss.
Absolutely. If you think about it, that was the point where he said, this isn't working, we have to change it, and he changed it.
I mean, ultimately, I think we all knew we were eventually going to get the 3 in the back, right? It was at some point that was going to happen.
That's his style.
I think what's so great about it, and it shows how great of a coach he is, and he's an Italian, which only makes me like him that much more, is that some coaches in any sport, in football, blah, 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 they come in and they say, we're going to play this system no matter what. I don't care if I have the players for it or not, and it doesn't work often because you don't have the players to fit it. He somehow made these players buy into this system so quickly.
Right.
We had that 3-0 loss to Arsenal, and then we just go on a tear. Switch formations. David Luiz looks like the best defender in the league. Who saw that coming?
Right. Nobody.
I mean, he's leading a center back line of Azpilicueta, who's not even a center back.
Right.
And Gary Cahill, who I've been asking to leave the formation. I mean, it's unbelievable that what he's been able to do with so little on his back line.
Right. Moving forward, if Chelsea's going to drop points, where are they going to come? Like I said, I said this last time. I don't know. I've said it to you before. We did our job. We beat you. Arsenal has the responsibility now to do the same this weekend. After that, you guys still have Manchester City and Manchester United, and that'll wrap up your schedule. I don't think there are any other teams that are going to challenge you guys, because as I said a second ago, I think if you take a look at the top 5, other than those 2 games, and you can excuse the Liverpool-Arsenal game as being the first game of the season, and nobody's ready, so I don't think that scoreline was reflective of the 2 teams. And then your game against Arsenal was also early in the season. That was before everyone got their tactics together. But if you look at all the other top 5 matchups, the highest scoreline has been 2-0. Like, no other team has, I think, now that I'm thinking, no other team has really blown away another top 5 competition.
Right. I think last year we had the year of none of the top 5 teams got their shit together. And they couldn't win the league. I thought Tottenham was going to win the league for sure. It was theirs for the taking. Arsenal on a down year. Chelsea needs a new coach. Man City needs a new coach.
It was one of those seasons where the soccer gods were just like, this is what's going to happen,
and I think this year the top 5 said, wait a minute. This cannot happen again. They've gotten their things together, and who's at the top 5? The usual suspects.
Plus us, though.
I mean, I think you guys are.
We're not the usual suspects yet.
I think you try and do this to elevate yourselves. We don't even deserve to be.
I'm not saying we don't deserve it. We do deserve it. I'm just saying we're not at the point where you can say Tottenham is one of the teams that you expect there.
I get that, but so when you guys don't win the league, though, that's a crutch for you to fall back on. You say, well, I don't think we expect to win the league. I think that's downright ridiculous. I think Tottenham's in the spot now where they're one of the top 5 teams, top 6 teams, whatever you want to say, who's had the coach for the longest period, except for Arsene Wenger, who might be on the way out.
Right.
And the quality of players they have is on the same level as all the other players, all the other teams in the league, right? You guys have the best defense. I think you have the best center back in the league, personally. I mean, Harry Kane, I see what you post, what you say about his goals and the records he's breaking.
Right.
I mean, it's yours for the taking, and I think you keep giving yourself a crush to say we're not supposed to be there, but I think you're absolutely supposed to be there. You should have won last year, and this year it's you let the big dogs step back in and.
Well, I mean, the big dogs. We're still leading the big dogs. I mean, other than you guys who just went on that. What was the winning streak? Was it?
You're gonna ask me to pull it up. It was a lot. I mean, a lot to a little.
Right. No, but that's the streak is what has you 9 points ahead of everyone else. But what I'm saying is we've taken care of business with the other teams. Against the other top 5 is what I'm saying.
Against the other top 5, but to win the league, you can split the baby against the other top 5, right? Me and you guys won at home, we won at home.
Right.
You could split the baby against the top 5. You got to beat the likes of Sunderland. And you got to beat the likes of Swansea.
And that's what I think we don't.
R.I.P. Bob Bradley.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think we have the mentality. If you look at Manchester United 10 years ago, they went to whoever, they would be tied 0-0, 93rd minute, they'd win. They had that mentality. Sir Alex Ferguson gave it to them.
The GOAT.
Right. When a small team, when we go to their house, they go and defend. They park the bus. And we still have kind of a hard time figuring out how to play against the park bus. When teams come at us, that's when we shine. And we need to have that. If, like you said, if we're going to be champions, we need to be able to break the teams down when they sit back and defend.
I think it's really funny that you bring this up because I've actually been considering a theory that I think is pretty brilliant on Antonio Conte's part. So I think one critique you always have of us is when we play the likes of Sunderland, when we play the likes of Hull, there are periods in the game where they have possession, right? We don't always dominate the possession, and I think it allows them to open up. I think it's a brilliant tactic because we say, okay, we'll let you have possession, you try and break us down defensively. The moment they open up, what do?
Counter.
We counter,
right.
We counter hard, we counter fast, and we have the players to do that. I think it's something that really needs to be looked at in the Premier League because it is true. Bob Bradley had an interview with Grant Wall, and he said, I wanted to take this job. I didn't think I'd have this opportunity, and I wanted to show that I could play beautiful soccer, that I could do great soccer. I could play attacking soccer. They lost. They cut him immediately, right? They wanted him to park the bus. They wanted him to say, beat us 0, and it's crazy, but it is a tactic, and you're saying you guys can't beat the bus.
I'm not saying we can't. We have a hard time doing it. We've done it.
Right, but I think that's where Antonio Conte is really brilliant because he allows these lesser teams, and they are lesser, to have possession at times. You'll see in these games. We'll take a look at these games, and we'll show you periods where Chelsea just doesn't have the ball, and it's like you're aggravated because you're like, this is Hull, this is Swansea. Why don't we have the ball? But we win the game,
right?
And we do it because they open themselves up. And I think it's
very interesting.
I've been really thinking about this for the past couple of weeks now, especially going on this run, looking at his formation and how it works. And it is true because we give up possession, and a lot of English fans, a lot of people don't like that because they want the Barcelona ticky-tacky. We always have the ball. Yeah. You don't get the ball, but it's at some point you got to open them up, and if you can't open them up because you can't get around the bus. You got to let them move the bus. You
Yeah.
got to let them come up the field a little bit. And I think it's brilliant, and maybe he doesn't mean to do it, but that's just what I see.
Funny you mention that because now that you think about it, that's how Leicester won last year. They didn't have possession.
Well, they had N'Golo Kante. That's all they needed.
Well, they really were just over the top. They just kicked the ball to Vardy, and he would score goals. I mean, that's basically how they won. They would soak up the pressure, counterattack, and they did it brilliantly. But yesterday, I want to say that we really didn't play well. We had an off day. I mean, you can't just say, well, Sunderland didn't come out to play because I mean they had their chances. Not very many, but they had their chances. We didn't create. Like we had so many chances that we just like missed target. There were at least 2 or 3 wide open shots that we had, and we just missed them. Kane didn't do much. Ali had a really good chance that he missed. Son had a really good chance to miss, and freaking Wanyama had a point blank header that he just. He had to put it on target. It would have gone in. He put it over the.
Yeah, but he's a destroyer, not a scorer.
Right, but all he had to do was put it in, like the entire rectangle. He was in the 6-yard box.
I mean, I get it, but I think that's what makes championship teams, right? You have a bad game and you still win. Right. You could find a way to win even though you're not playing at your best.
I agree. That's why I'm telling you. You guys are going to win the league, and you keep saying you won't. I think this coming up weekend against Arsenal is going to say...
Oh, I mean, I've been dead set this whole time that I don't think we're going to win the league. I think we have, we don't have the pieces right to do it yet. But...
Nobody else wants to win the league, apparently.
Nobody else wants to win the league, and I do think if we beat Arsenal, this weekend, it's going to come down to... Are we going to lose the league or are we going to win it? It's not going to be somebody beating us at that point. It's just going to be, are we going to lose it for ourselves? The title.
I agree.
But we've had all this intricate talk about the title race. Can we talk about that David Luiz goal for a second? Come on, that thing was.
It was a really good goal, and I think what happened, and I think that's the Liverpool players were upset, is because they thought. Freaking Mignolet, first of all, Mignolet is a disaster, a walking disaster.
All their goalies, Liverpool goalies, are. The other one, what's his name? Karius?
Yeah.
He's terrible.
He's
Every
awful.
game I've watched, he just gives up horrible
Mignolet
goals.
is an incredible shot stopper, just like reactions. He's got those cat-like reflexes.
Yep.
But when it comes to simple stuff like putting your wall together, forming a freaking wall, or like when they get the defense passes the ball back to him and he'll like miss the ball and it'll go between his legs. Like he's a walking disaster.
Robert Green.
Yeah. Oh my
God. The World Cup against USA.
Yeah. That was. But you're building your wall. Pay attention. Like where are your defenders? What are you doing? That was a really clever thing.
I mean, so 2 things. I don't know if we ever got the interview that said that was a set piece planned to be like that. Mm-hmm. Everybody thought Willian was taking that.
Everyone.
And I still think Willian thought he was taking it.
I think you're right.
I think even if he had the wall set up and he was in the right position, I don't think Mignolet was saving that. First off, I don't know how David Luiz hits the ball with the inside of his foot.
It's like
and
a paddle.
Does it like that.
It's like a paddle.
I've physically tried that, and I think I might have fell over. Like I don't understand how you hit the ball with that kind of pace, with that kind of whip, with the inside of your foot coming straight up on it.
Yeah, I don't know. He's got to have some adductor muscles like nobody's business.
I mean, the glutes, I don't know.
Because, I mean, to be fair, it hit the inside of the post.
That's why I'm saying I don't think he was ever saved.
Yeah, that's why
I don't think it was ever going to be saved. I think it was an incredible free kick that I don't understand the physics of, personally.
But if immediately after, the players just looked at the ref, and he's like, whatever, it's a go.
Well, because, I think you hear the whistle, and then you wait for the run-up, right?
Right.
You wait for, they take their time, they run up, and they hit a nice little curler. The whistle went, and David Luiz was already in mid-stride, I think, and he just whacked it, and it dinked right off the post and in.
It caught. Look, I went to the local pub, and mind you, it's a Liverpool-centric atmosphere.
I'm glad I wasn't there.
And there was one Chelsea supporter there at the time, just one.
Maybe he needed a friend. Maybe I could have been there.
Maybe you could have been his friend, yeah. But the place went silent. Like, absolutely, like, nobody was saying anything. It was just everyone.
And he wanted to cheer so hard, was afraid to get taken out back and beaten.
And beaten with a stick, yeah. It was a good, yeah. I think overall, like you said, it was a very even game. I think both teams could have won it. Both teams could have lost it. But I think in the end, you guys played better because you guys shut down Coutinho. You guys shut down Firmino better than they shut down your players. I mean, granted, Costa didn't do much either. They shut him down pretty well. But, I mean, other than that, I think you guys had probably a little bit better chance, especially with that PK.
Right, with the PK, I mean, when the PK happened, you saw Costa step up to take it. He's in great form. He's scoring goals. I mean, you expect him to run up and just put it away. It's just that simple, right?
Right. But now...
But see, this is why I don't like the person getting fouled taking the penalty, right? So he draws the penalty, then he gets him, takes the penalty. I have never been for that. I think somebody else, cool mind, should walk up and take it. He's in form, I get it. I've always been a proponent of you give it to somebody else, right? You get fouled in the box. I get it, you worked for it and everything like that. But there's just something mental about it. I feel like you got to give it to somebody else.
I don't know. I think you have your designated PK taker, and that's your PK taker. I don't know if you know this, but Mignolet has I've watched a lot of games where he stops PKs.
Really?
Like, he is a specialist at blocking PKs. And that's what I'm saying. He's very good at reflex saves. Very good at reflex saves. He reminds me of this old keeper Tottenham used to have, Aurelio Gomez. He plays for Watford now. And he was an incredible shot stopper. Like, if the ball came, he would just stop it with his face. I mean, just whatever it took. But when he would...
The technical side of it.
Like, the easy stuff.
Right.
Yeah, the easy stuff would come to him. I can't tell you how many times the ball literally went between his legs. In fact, I remember one game against Chelsea. The ball hit him. He went down to scoop it, and it rolled between his legs, and you guys beat us. And I'm not kidding. Like, that was him in a nutshell. Like, you made the most incredible shot. He would block it, but if you passed it back to him and it was rolling, he would just let it go through his legs. And that's Mignolet in a nutshell. So obviously, I'm surprised that he blocked it, but not that it was him. And like anyone else.
I mean, if you look at the penalty, it really wasn't that
very
great.
Good. It was kind of in the middle.
It was in the middle. I think he went middle left, right? And it wasn't... I mean, sometimes you see those sneak under the keeper, but it wasn't a great penalty. I think you let Hazard step up and take it, or somebody else, Willian, somebody.
David Luiz.
Dude, he'd burn the net from that close. He'd rip right through the net.
He might sky it.
I bet he might sky it. But yeah, I think we knew how serious Liverpool was taking that game, though, because they flew Mane in on a private jet.
They didn't use him.
I mean, they did. They brought him in as a sub.
I feel like if you're going to bring him in, you play him sooner.
Right.
I thought they were going to start him in the second half. And I think he might have made a difference because I think he's the signing. I don't know. Other than Conte, I think him and Conte are the signings of the season. They're the two players that have the most impact for their teams.
I mean, I love watching N'Golo Conte play soccer. He's everything that I want a soccer player, right? He's a workhorse. He pokes the ball from you. He's always in the position. How many times in that game did we see him? He might have lost the ball and then immediately somehow get it back.
That's how he is. That's what he does. And
he wrecks in the midfield. He bottles it up. I always like to call him the wine cork, right? So he bottles it up.
Right.
Nobody can get through. You got to go wide if you're coming down our alleyway.
Yeah.
And when you go wide, you play exactly into our hands. We have the wing backs.
Right.
We play like that. It's perfect.
He's the player that lets you have that formation.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think he protects our defense. I don't think our defense is world class. I don't think it's even nearly top 5 in the league, top 10 in the league.
Personnel-wise.
Personnel-wise,
yeah,
right.
I absolutely agree. But it's working.
I think system and then N'Golo Conte makes it work. I mean, I don't want to say he single-handedly let Leicester win the league last year, but I mean,
if you look at them now, I think they were a one-hit wonder. Even if Conte had stayed, Leicester wouldn't have done anything. But I don't want to talk about that. I think they made
a deal with the devil, and that's how it worked out.
I think that might be true. Really quickly, though, before we move on to CONCACAF friendlies coming up, I just want to point out Watford has Yunus Kabul, former Tottenham, who scored a goal. You have Aurelio Gomez, who really played really well yesterday against Arsenal. And then you have Etienne Capoue, who made that incredible run that led to Dini's goal.
I wasn't able to catch that game. I
Yeah.
don't really even catch the highlights of it.
I just want to say, like, a bunch of former Tottenham players took Arsenal down. That's all. I just want to point any Arsenal fans out there. I just wanted to poke that wound. That's all I wanted to say.
Listen, he doesn't even get enough out of us arguing. He has to poke other bears.
Yes.
That's why you come to the Chelsea side. We'll welcome you in.
So you want to talk about, because you guys USA played Serbia.
Right. I think in our last episode we talked about Camp Cupcake and what all that entails and how it's an MLS based camp. Even though now we have Jorge Villafana, who plays in Liga MX. He's a left back, plays in Liga MX. But because he's in the camp now, there's speculation that he's moving to MLS. He hasn't really been able to break through at a starting role.
Do you remember who he plays for?
I don't. I can always look it up, though. I got my handy-dandy computer here. But yeah, so we did have a friendly against... He plays for Santos Laguna.
Okay.
He just hasn't been able to break through. He was really good at the Portland Timbers the year they won the MLS Cup.
Mm-hmm.
They had to sell a bunch of players. He sold, never broke through, and it seems like he might be on his way back now that he's in Camp Cupcake.
Okay.
We'll see how that works out. So, this is Bruce Arena's first game as a head coach manager.
His second stint.
Second stint, he is the winningest manager in U.S. soccer history.
Right.
Now there's a lot to talk about. So this game was boring. I was absolutely bored. I was falling asleep, but there were some excellent takeaways. And most of these players MLS haven't played since October, so.
True.
They've come into this camp 2 weeks ago. They're just getting their fitness back. They're just getting, chemistry back, everything. So, I mean, we weren't expecting anything great. He did come out in a 4-2-3-1. I think it's very interesting because we have USA. We're very odd because we have the players to play in the 4-2-3-1, but for some reason we always play best when we have two strikers. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's Josie Altidore can't play as a point man by himself and hold up, even though he's the strongest guy on the planet. He looks like the Hulk sometimes. But we did come on that 4-2-3-1. It was a 0-0 bore fest.
Who played striker?
Josie.
Okay.
Josie was up top, and we just for some reason cannot seem to make that work. The 4-2-3-1 to me seems like it should work, right? We have midfielders. We have Michael Bradley, who looks like he's going to play the 6th role now, so it looks like he's going to play for deeper back.
Right. Which I think is better for him.
I think he's world class in that position, personally. I think that's where Roma wanted him to play when he was there. I mean, maybe not world class. Let me
okay.
step back a little bit. He's Captain America.
I thought Dempsey was Captain America.
Yeah, they're all Captain America.
Okay.
I think he's best in that position, but Jermaine Jones is very talented. We all know that, but he just wanders around the. He is the most perplexing player to watch because he doesn't like to be in a position at all. He wants to free roam. He wants to do anything. So, at times it looked like we were in a 4-1-4-1 with Bradley super deep and our midfield super high, and we couldn't find a connection to them.
Right.
I think personally, man of the match. Best player in the field was Darlington Nagbe, and if anybody knows me, they know I love Nagbe with a passion. I'd marry the man if I met him today. He should have been starting for Jurgen. I think he still should be starting now. Where do we fit him on the field is another question.
What's his club team?
Portland.
Okay.
They won the MLS Cup.
Yeah.
Not this last year because it was Seattle, but the year before that. He was the best player in the field. He had 2 shots curling in. Both of them probably should have went in, couldn't go in. He's not the best finisher, but what he creates and what he brings to the U.S. team is what we don't have. He's able to take the ball at his feet under pressure, keep his balance, and keep possession. So
right.
We don't have that. We have a problem keeping possession. We can defend, we can score, but we never have somebody who could just, under pressure, take the ball and distribute it. And we saw several times that game him completely under pressure, turn, make a pass out wide, turn, bring the ball up, connect. We don't have somebody who can connect the ball from the defense to the midfield. I think he does it perfectly.
Would you like to see Bruce Arena stick with the formation, even if it hurts the first few games, like you guys aren't getting the results for the long term, or do you think right now the most important thing is to qualify, screw the formation, screw the future? Like right now, qualify.
Well, I think definitely number one thing is qualify. But there's no question. It's going to be, in CONCACAF, if you understand CONCACAF well, it's pretty hard not to qualify. Graham Zusi can qualify 2 teams at one time.
Yeah. It's so funny that the reaction, like he's the only U.S. player that Mexico fans love, and he's the only U.S. player that American fans hate.
Because he single-handedly propelled you guys into the World Cup.
Right. He had no reason to score that goal.
No, he didn't. And the irony is he's actually, Bruce Arena is converting him to a right back now.
Yeah.
So he actually played right back against Serbia. I think he did pretty well. I think that ultimately is DeAndre Yedlin's position to beat out right back. So, I think Yedlin's won, especially the form he is in Newcastle right now. Right. He is tearing it up, man. Couple assists his last game. He's doing really well. But right, I think the formation is a big deal because Jurgen always changing the formation, always changing players, putting them in crazy positions that they didn't need to be in.
Right.
I think we do have problems though because we have lots of talented strikers. I think personally that need to, Jordan Morris is young, MLS Rookie of the Year. Juan Agudelo I think could be good. We'll see. Bobby Wood maybe might not be doing as good in Bundesliga right now, but Hamburg is bad. He's on an island and he's still scoring goals, but he's on an island by himself. Josie is Josie, obviously. I think we play best at 2, but that makes us forfeit a midfield player, which is difficult for me.
So who's your striker then? If you're going to play one striker only, who do you play? Because Altidore has been. Everyone's saying he's like the striker. Once Landon Donovan and Dempsey are gone, he's going to be the guy. But I don't see him stepping up.
He has a lot of goals. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
He scores a lot of goals. I think sometimes with Josie though, he can't score goals against good teams. When you see him score goals, it's like we're playing. I don't want to say Trinidad and Tobago because they're a pretty good team, but we're playing weak CONCACAF teams, and he scores consistently, always scores, and it makes him look really good. And he does have a lot of goals for the U.S., but when it comes to bigger competition, he doesn't get it done.
Right.
I think it's his job to lose, but I think he's at his best when he has somebody else playing off of him, taking the pressure off of him. So whether that's Bobby Wood, Jordan Morris, somebody like that. I think what we need, though, is we need more creative players in our midfield. I think we need... Jermaine Jones is highly talented, but I think he's going to be 36 or 37 by the time the World Cup comes around. Yeah. I think we need to start phasing him out, let Michael Bradley play the number 6 role, let him just be the defensive mid, and put creative players on the field.
Like who?
Nagby.
Okay.
Sasha Kleshtin. Okay. He had 20 assists in MLS last season.
Isn't he getting up there as well, though?
I think he's like 31, though. He's got time. What we will see and we do have a game this Friday against Jamaica. Jermaine Jones, I think, went back to Galaxy Camp, so he won't play. So it would be interesting to see what formation we choose. And also, Sasha had to go. His wife's having a baby, so they're both left the camp. So now we have spots to see who can fill those roles. I think we're going to see Benny Feilhaber at the cam position, and I like him there. He's a good attacking option. I want to see Nagby starting again, and I want him to get an assist or a goal and show that he can do that. I think it's going to be interesting where Bruce goes with this because he needs to get a formation and he needs to get that defense set is what he really needs. And remember, he's only playing with half a deck right now.
Right, obviously.
He doesn't have his Bundesliga players. He doesn't have the likes of Christian Pulisic, Fabian Johnson, John Brooks. These are all starters. Jeff Cameron.
Right.
He doesn't have
obviously
the whole tool belt to work with right now. But
But that's the point of this camp, to see who's
right.
when the time comes. Which
absolutely
of these
who can step up
Right.
and fill the gap. And I think Nagby showed that he can. I think the defense looked good. I think Birnbaum looked good. He's young. The outside backs looked okay. Greg Garza, who's just joined Atlanta United, so he'll be there for the new year, looked good. Villafania looked good. I think it's going to be pretty solid going forward. I'd like to see a win against Jamaica, though. I think what this team is lacking, what they lacked at the end of the Jurgen era, was they lacked motivation and they lacked confidence. I don't think they have either of those, and I think even though this camp doesn't mean anything, these games don't mean anything, I think you need to get some wins before that game against Honduras, right?
Absolutely. Are you playing away at Honduras?
No, we're playing home at Honduras.
Okay.
So I think we're in San Jose is what they said. You got to get goals, right?
Absolutely.
We need to get Jersey a goal, let them get that confidence back. We need to get assists. I think we need to put up a good number on them, get some confidence back, and take it into this game. I think we need confidence and consistency, and that's something they lacked at the end, right? The Mexico game, that had to be deflating, right? Giving up that last-minute goal had to be. And then you go in and you just get absolutely spanked by the likes of Costa Rica. Yeah. I mean, I think confidence is low. I think we need goals, and we need a win.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we didn't play, but we do have a friendly as well coming up Friday. And much like you guys, we're not playing with our European players. Everyone called up is either Liga MX or MLS. So the same way, I'm in the same boat. I think there are a lot of players that really need to show that they belong, because this weekend Chicharito Hernandez scored a goal. He broke his, I think it was like an 8-game streak without
drought.
Yeah, which 8 Bundesliga games. I mean, I think his ratio is 1 goal every 2 games. If you consider Manchester United, when he plays, like obviously if he isn't playing, if they're not playing him, he's not scoring goals. But when he was playing, right, when he was at United, he scored double-digit goals every time he actually played.
I think in the Florida Cup though, he
missed a PK.
He's defeated, right? He doesn't have a goal in the Florida Cup.
He doesn't have a goal in the Florida Cup, which is a very important tournament. But he scored at Real Madrid when they played him, and he has been phenomenal at Leverkusen. So an 8-game Bundesliga drought was pretty big, but he came back, he scored a goal. And then you have Corona, who plays in Portugal, who had a phenomenal goal this weekend. All our European players, they all played well this last weekend. So when it's time to play I think we play Jamaica next
in your CONCACAF game
in
your
the
World Cup qualifying.
So this Friday against Iceland, you're going to have a bunch of kids and fringe players that are going to be making a case for themselves. And I think mostly, other than Giovanni, who is obviously a national hero, Irving Lozano, who I think he's going to be one for the future. I don't see any players that are going to really be fighting, like going to be knocking off any of our European players.
Have you? I think the Icelandic league, if that's what you call it, I think they're also on break right now, from what I understand. Have you been able to see the roster? Are they bringing a competitive roster?
I really, even if I saw it, I wouldn't know.
I mean, they're the England beaters, though.
Yeah, that doesn't say much.
I mean, what do they? They got Gylfi Sigurdsson.
Yeah, former Tottenham.
Swansea player now.
Yeah.
I like him.
I think he's really...
If Chelsea signed him today, I would not be upset.
Yeah,
I mean, they can't do that because the window's closed, but I like him. I think he's good. I'm not sure what his position is. I'm not sure if he's a cam or a striker.
He can play striker, left, middle, or right.
I like him, though.
Yeah.
I think there's other...
I'm not saying they have a bad team. I'm just saying I don't know them well enough to say whether or not they're starting. But I can tell you right now that these guys need to prove a point. That's what's coming up. I really don't have a lot to say because it's just a bunch of MX Liga. I'm not saying Liga MX isn't worthy of the national team. But but these guys need to show up. I think, especially like I said, Irving Lozano, who was actually scouted by Manchester United, and Gio needs to show that he hasn't lost his touch. I know he's been killing it in LA Galaxy.
Yeah, I mean, they like him a lot.
Yeah.
But once again, they're not
playing.
Season.
Exactly.
I think training camp started this week,
Right.
but yeah, he's not in form. He's not in shape.
Right.
I'd just like to point out, though, that we did tie Serbia 0-0, but Serbia did win the last U20 World Cup. And so that means they've got some good young players over there.
Yeah.
And so our tie might not be that bad.
Especially considering you didn't have your big European kids.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, so I mean, definitely, I think so. Especially his first game in charge.
Yeah, and I think there's only been like 2 USA coaches ever who have won their first games. It's difficult to do.
I mean, it's not his first game.
I mean, his first game this go around.
Right.
2.0. Bruce 2.0.
Right. So yeah, I guess next time we'll talk about the results.
Right, next week I think we'll talk about that Jamaica result. We're going to talk about Nagby assisting somebody.
Sure,
We're going to talk about a good performance by Benny Feilhaber. We're going to talk about righting the ship for World Cup qualifiers. We did have a U.S. player move on deadline day. You might not know him because he was playing for Chesterfield. Globy Aribi, though, did move to Nottingham Forest.
Did he now?
Yeah. And that's exciting for us. So he's working his way up the tiers.
Right. He went from what, League 2 to League 1?
I think so.
Good. I mean, hey, good for him.
But so he did move, and that's exciting for us. So
yeah.
That's just a little shout out to little domestic players.
So let's talk MLS bids.
Okay.
I mean, you want to talk about Bill Edwards and the little fiasco that's going on there, or do you want to talk Sacramento? Which is a bigger story overall? Sacramento.
I mean, I think Sacramento is a bigger story. Tell
us what happened.
Okay, so if you don't support local soccer here in the United States, if you're not local, if you're listening from England, you can learn right now or you can tune out, one of the two. I'd rather you stay and learn because it's an interesting league and it's growing, but, well, that's up to you. But how we do things is, the MLS is a franchise market, so they offer, to get in, you have to pay franchise fees. The franchise fees right now are $150 million. Huge, huge numbers. Maybe not from the likes of the NFL and things like that, but big time for, soccer here in the United States. So deadline day to submit your applications was yesterday. We had 12 cities, 12 clubs, cities. Some of them have clubs, some of them don't.
Right.
Submit a bid. Obviously, our Rowdies were one of them.
Right.
Now, who I had personally as a front runner was Sacramento. They have a club, the Sacramento Republic. They play in the second tier USL, and they average 11,000 fans, second tier, and they max out their stadium. They just don't have room to fit any more fans. So, I mean, they could theoretically if they wanted to, but they don't have a room. Now, their bid consisted of, we have 11,000 fans at every game for a tier 2 game. We have an amazing brand. First off, their jerseys, Caleb, I don't know if you've seen their jerseys. Go home and look them up. They're maroon. They're awesome. Their crest is cool. I love the crest.
I saw the crest. It's nice.
It's a nice crest.
It's a nice crest.
So they have the fans. They have the brand. They have the local support. And they also have the stadium willing to be built. So for a year now, they've said, if we get into MLS, we'll build the stadium. Something very similar to what Bill Edwards was saying, right? But they already have the land picked out. They already have it approved. They have everything.
Right.
So going into this expansion, I thought they were the front runners. They're going to get it. One hiccup. They didn't necessarily have the money to afford it. So they brought in an investor.
And from my understanding, he's the owner of the Sacramento Kings. I forget his name.
I'm pulling it up right now. I think his name might be Jackass. Don't quote me on that.
Right.
But so he's got big money, and
right.
he came in to push them over that. and his name is Kevin Nagel.
Right. That's it. Kevin Nagel.
And so he came in to push them over with the money and present a plan, with them. You need money. That's essentially what you need. So come deadline day, somehow, and this is difficult to explain because we don't really have all the facts yet, people were noticing that the Republic hadn't had a press release about their bid. I mean, if you look at the Rowdies, just for example, Bill Edwards went to New York. He brought the Rouse Mob, he brought fans, he brought Pete the Pelican, he had dancers lined up in the street. Like, it was a big deal. It was posted everywhere. Everybody knew about it. Local coverage from the news outlets. Sacramento was dead quiet. But they submitted a bid, and people started noticing that in the pictures, Sacramento Republic crest was nowhere.
Right.
Now we have so what basically happened was, and what I see happening right now is it looks like he's holding out on them, right? So he put in a bid, not for the club but for the city, right? So he has the former mayor with him. He is bidding
on behalf of himself.
On behalf of himself in the city to get a team. Not the club that's already established, that has 11,000 fans.
Right.
So what it's looking like is he's bidding for himself to build a brand new franchise with no supporters, nothing. Or he's just holding it over them to bend them to his will, essentially what it is.
Like holding them hostage, basically.
Right. To me, to use a law school term, it looks like he's, tricked them by false pretenses, right? So he's said one thing, and now he's gotten title to their brand, to their city, and everything like that, and he's taken them out from under them. He's pulled the rug out, and they had no idea. They released a press release, Sacramento Republic, saying, we had no idea this was happening either.
Right.
This is not in our contract. This is not how this works. Now, this is mind-blowing because... Yeah. To me, this was the number one city. They were the shoo-in, man. Like, they were going to get this, and they deserved it. And now it's all crumbling apart.
But going back to, like you said, the law school terms, he can't do that. Like, if they have an agreement, he can't just go behind their backs.
Oh, no, we don't see the agreement, though. We don't know.
I'm sure he, even if, like, they go in as partners, like him as an entity and the Sacramento Republic as an entity, like, they have a duty of good faith to each other. I mean, he can't do that to them.
He has.
He did it. He did it, and there's probably. There's gonna be. They're gonna sue his ass.
Or he's gonna bring him to the table and say, "I hold all the chips now."
Man.
I did read somewhere that they've had slightly a falling out over the last year. I don't know about what, but I guess Don Garber, the commissioner of MLS, came in and actually did a mediation between them two.
That's very interesting.
So, but this has all been under the covers, and no one's known about it.
It only came out because of what happened yesterday.
To me, there's no way he's going to start a franchise without it being Sacramento Republic. I've seen on the Reddit, on Twitter, soccer is a supporter-driven sport. As much as there is money, it really is, and I just can't see supporters
taking that lightly.
And then leaving the Republic to, let's say, this new franchise.
Yeah, he can have the team, he can have the stadium, but if he doesn't have the fans, he doesn't have.
Now, if MLS does accept this bid without Sacramento Republic, we're going to learn a whole lot about what MLS really wants.
That's very true.
And
what kind of league are they?
Right. If they do accept this bid, we're going to see that they like the money, they like the cachet, they don't care necessarily about history or club or supporters, which will be very bad for Tampa, because what we have is history. If you don't know this and you're from the Tampa Bay area, you're not from the Tampa Bay area, the Rowdies were the first professional team in the Tampa Bay area.
Yeah.
Not the Bucks, not the Rays, not the Lightning, Tampa Bay Rowdies.
Right.
So, we have the history here. We have a stadium that only seats about 7,500, 6,500. Every time I look at an article, it's a different number. But that limits, how many people we could actually fit in our stadium. So we don't have the 11,000 number, but I think we could. But if that's the case and he wants money, he wants cachet, he wants or I'm talking about MLS here.
Right.
It's going to say a lot, I think. And it's a really, really interesting thing to be in, especially from law terms, because how this is going about and how it's going to play out is very interesting.
Yeah.
And it's almost like they submarine themselves, because I don't see them getting the bid now. And I think, like I said numerous times, that they were number one. And I just love the brand. I mean, I've said it before.
Yeah.
I like the maroon colors. I like the crest. I like everything they've got to offer.
Yeah. It's a crazy story. I was reading about it too. Once I saw that you had posted something about it, and it's crazy.
I mean, I've been tweeting about it all day.
Yeah.
And what I've really seen, and it's quite. And Ralph's Mob, the supporters group of the Rowdies, they actually came out in full support of the Republic, Sacramento Republic, saying, yeah, this is bogus. And there's actually a hashtag. I think it's hashtag No Republic, No Party.
Yeah. I saw that.
And it's brilliant, but I'm all for it. I mean, it's a club. It should be ground level, grassroots, a club supporter driven league, not franchise. And I get it is franchise, and you have to have that. But I think one of the most important things is that this is the United States, and you have 11,000 people coming out to a soccer game. That's not even the first tier.
Right, it's not even the first tier. That's exactly the point.
Give those people some love.
Right.
It's heartbreaking. It really is, and I feel so bad for them. I hope to see them in MLS, and hopefully we'll play them one day in MLS.
Yeah. You want to quickly talk about our bid?
Yeah, so Bill Edwards, first off, I think we talked about this on the last episode, that he purchased a billboard in Times Square.
In Times Square.
It's been going on for about a week now.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Incredible.
Billboard. It's awesome. So, the teams didn't necessarily have to go and personally deliver their bids. But Bill Edwards, the man that he is, not only flew himself out there. I mean, he met up with he had members of the Ralph's Mob. He had Rick Baker with him.
Yeah, former St. Pete mayor.
St. Pete mayor, who's now like the leader of his group. He brought Pete the Pelican. He had also another supporter who is a young boy who's I think he actually came out of cancer, so he's a cancer survivor. But brought him along, and he brought these beautiful books of their application, which I tweeted at Tampa Bay Rowdies to give me one or auction it to me. They said no pretty strongly, but I really wanted them. They were nice. The book, it was a box opened up with a little screen on it that had a Rowdies video playing with USBs of the actual application. Then the book itself was made out of turf, and it said, "We brought our pitch to you."
I'm seeing the pictures here.
It looked like a cake, first off.
I thought it was a cake when I first saw it.
I wanted to eat it. If you zoom in, you could actually see the spiral notebooks.
Yeah.
And I think everybody likes cake, so they should have brought cake, but they did bring Florida oranges. I don't know if you saw that. And the box actually said St. Pete oranges. So I don't know if you saw that, but they did. The pitch book looks awesome. Yeah. I still want it. If anybody's listening, I'll be the first one to take it off your hands. I'd love to have it in a case in my room. But yeah, so they brought it up there. They actually met with Mark Abbott, who is the CEO or president of MLS. I'm not sure his exact title off the top of my head, but he's like the original founder of MLS. Right. They met with him, talked with him, shook hands, laughed, and then came home. This is a big time.
Yeah. Now, I hate to benefit from someone else's misery, but...
I see where you're going with this.
No, seriously, though. Like, serious question. Might this... Do you think we had a chance? Because right now, there's another LA team that's probably going to be in.
They're already in. They've already been given a spot.
So this is different. These are bids for lower league teams to be put in.
Right.
It's not necessarily brand new franchises.
I mean, it could be brand new. Okay. So cities like
because I saw like Raleigh, North Carolina.
North Carolina has a team, and North Carolina NCFC, I think.
Okay.
But like cities like St. Louis, Detroit. They don't have teams. I mean, they do have teams. So there is a St. Louis team, a USL team, but the bid is separate from them.
Okay.
Different owners.
Gotcha.
So it can be brand new franchises, or it can be ones that are coming up, and we see that with the Sacramento, exactly that dichotomy. I think the biggest crux of this is if Miami is coming in. So Miami is already pretty much guaranteed a spot. We discussed this on our last episode at a really low rate, but they don't have a team. They don't have a stadium site. They don't have a stadium. They don't have owners.
Right.
They don't have an ownership group. This was given to them about like 4 years ago.
Right.
So if they don't get it together, I think we sneak and take their spot. But as of right now, it's Miami and LAFC coming in, and then there's 4 other spots from that. So if Miami fails, it could be 5 spots, and right now there's 12 teams bidding for spots.
Did you see any other bids? Did you see any of the other what they did? No other owner went in, and
I think I want to say there was maybe 1 or 2 others. The owners, dropped off a nice booklet and things, but no, I don't think anybody did what our man Bill Edwards did.
Right.
He knows how to put on a show. I really like the passion he has for it. He never saw soccer. The first soccer game he saw was a Rowdies game when he bought the team.
Nice.
But he now sits behind the players' bench for almost every game.
Right.
I love.
We've seen him at the stadium.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
We a little nervous to say anything.
Right.
We should have. Bill, hi, Roz.
Right. Now, what do you think about this recent news article that popped up, coincidentally, about his previous business ventures? What do you think?
Okay, well, first, just to highlight what it was, the Tampa Bay Times posted an article the day that the application was due about Bill Edwards and maybe some shady dealings he did with mortgages. Now, I'm not a mortgage broker. I don't really understand how this stuff works, but I'm going to give you my best explanation. So, he was doing mortgages for veterans.
Veterans, correct.
And it was a program that they were doing, and somewhere there are 2 whistleblowers who have sued lots of companies about this.
Lots of companies.
And
they've made $45 million off suing these companies.
Saying that they were doing wrongdoing to the veterans, that they were messing with their rates and things like that. But as you said, other larger companies have already settled for $45 million. Bill Edwards did not want to settle. He's taken this long. And, to me, the fact that nothing has been proven yet, and that he didn't settle with the rest of them. When he had a chance to stop out, think about it. If you have all these people settling, why not just get in and settle, and for a lower amount, right? Because if they come after you personally, one-on-one, you might get hit bigger. But if you settle with a bunch of different companies, you might be able to, minimize your settlement. He didn't settle. It's still in court now. I read a couple of the transcripts. I read an article that he's pretty confident that there's no merit to this claim.
Right.
He has been investigated by the SEC before. We know that.
Right.
So maybe there is merit, but I think it's just shady the timing.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say. Even if it's true, why now? That's the part to me that says somebody planned the release of that story.
Right.
I don't know.
I think a couple days before that, there was actually another article that came out that essentially pinned the Rays against the Rowdies. Like, it's one or the other for St. Pete. Now, that might be true, and if the Rays did leave, it would be a huge bump for the Rowdies. But it's not coincidence that these articles are coming out right before this bid is due.
Right.
And I think there's something shady there, and I don't like it, personally.
Yeah. I think, obviously a lot of politics involved. But with a former mayor and the governor of the state.
The mayor of St. Pete, Tampa has said they're in. Clearwater has said they're in. I think other surrounding areas have all said that they're in for this. They're in for the Rowdies, the MLS, the St. Pete bid. So, to me, I even think I saw something about the Rays. They posted something that they were backing us. So, to me, the article just seemed really odd.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it. It was shady.
Yeah, I agree. Well,
we've We've talked about a lot today, haven't we?
Yeah, we really have, and I think next week we're going to have quite a bit more to talk about. Like we talked about earlier, we have the Chelsea-Arsenal game, which I think is going to be obviously the biggest game of the weekend. U.S.-Jamaica and Mexico-Iceland. So I think we can look forward to those topics next week.
I think we weren't enough the rivals tonight. I think we need to get a little bit more,
It's just...
I think there needs to be a little bit more...
You think so?
More extra here.
More extra?
Yeah. This was too friendly. I didn't like it.
I mean, you kind of made fun of me.
I did. I think we did. And we talked about Graham Zusi, who's the hero to the Mexican team. So, I mean, I got my stabs in.
Yeah.
I think we need more stabs. Why don't you guys tell us what you think? If we were too friendly tonight, we can always turn it up because we've definitely got some bent-up frustration in there.
Definitely.
I think we might have been too nice about the Tottenham tie.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really have much to say. I mean, I couldn't really defend.
Right, I should have laid on you more, you're right.
There was nothing I could say to defend what happened.
You go, guys, I'm going to be better next time. We're going to...
You better pray that Arsenal don't win that game.
I mean, if they win 3-0, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do.
Right.
But they haven't seen us in 3-backs yet, so...
That's true.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a lot to talk about. We're going to have a lot more to talk about. So keep on checking in, and we'll be here next week to do the same thing again.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
And we are
The Rivals.